Today's recipe calls for some white cooking wine. I'm going to show you how to make a pan-seared chicken breast with a pan sauce. It's really easy and dang tasty. So with that said, let's get started. The first thing we need to do to make this easy recipe that'll make your family and friends think that you're some type of pro chef is prep some aromatic ingredients for the sauce that we'll prep later in the video. Collect a medium to large shallot. First, start by cutting the root end off of the fancy onion. It's the side with the little hairs. Once you've chopped that off, cut the shallot in 2 equal sections. We'll only be using half, so save the other half for another recipe. Whatever side you have chosen, peel all the paper skins off the veggie. From there, we need to cut the shallot into a really fine small dice, also known as a brunoise. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it anyways. Start the cut by cutting the shallot from side to side into sections that are about 1/8 inch thick. Alright, now that we've made the side to side sections, we need to give the shallot a quarter turn. After the turn, cut the veggie from top towards the root end next. Make the same size sections we just made to achieve that fine dice we're shooting for. If you're not a fan of shallots, you could easily swap the shallot for half of a small yellow onion. Alrighty, now that you're done crying, set this aside so we can move on to the next item, which is 4 medium to large garlic cloves. First, cut both ends off each piece of the stinky breath mint. Give each one a light smash. This will help peel the paper skins off each one. When the vampire repellent is naked, we need to mince this ingredient. Cut the cloves from side to side, making really teeny sections like we did with the previous ingredient. Once you're done doing that, give the garlic a slight turn and cut front to back, making the same size sections. This will give us teeny chunks of garlic, but we need them to be even smaller. After the tiny chunks are made, make a pile of the goods. Using the rocking motion, mince the garlic into really small pieces. Do this for a few minutes until you're happy with how small the pieces have become. Snag 2 medium to large chicken breasts. Clean the chick up by trimming off any fat that may be present and any parts that are undesirable looking. You'll notice the chicken breast is thicker on one side compared to the opposite side. We need to make them the same thickness from end to end to achieve a proper cook. To accomplish this task, cover the chick with some type of protective layer. Using your favorite smashing tool or anything that has a flat, even surface like a sauté pan or a saucepan. I'm using a rolling pin because I think it's the easiest to use. Once you've chosen your object, let's start flattening things out using a medium to light force. Start smashing the thicker end of the chicken until it's even with the thinner side of the protein. Ensure you do not use too much force so we do not completely rip through the chick. You also want to ensure you use even force all the way across. Even force will equal an even piece that will make for a better cook. To check how close you are or to check if you are done, use the feel test or the visual test. If it feels even all the way across, you know it's done, or use your peepers by crouching to check the thickness. The last thing we need to do is thoroughly pat dry the chicken breast and dry the holding device the chick was in. They both need to be completely dry. I'll explain more later on why we're doing this. We need to snag a couple more ingredients before we start cooking. One of those items is 3/4 cup or 180 mils of chicken stock. The last one we need to collect is half a cup or 118 mils white cooking wine. If you're not able to or choose not to use this ingredient, you can easily leave it out. Just substitute it with more chicken stock. Okay, now that we actually have all the ingredients together, grab a medium to large sauté pan. Collect all the goodies and take them over to a heat source of some kind. Once it's on the burner, crank the heat level up to a medium high. To check if your pan is hot enough, add a few droplets of water. If they immediately turn into little spheres and slowly dance around the pan, you know it's ready. When your pan is ready to go, drop in about a teaspoon or enough oil to coat the bottom of the sauté pan. you want to use a neutral tasting high heat oil. It'll become hot immediately, so have the chicken on deck and ready to be added to the pan. When you add the protein to the hot oil, lay it away from you. This way, if there is any splashback, you will not be burned by the hot oil. Once things are in the pan, turn your heat down by a degree, so it should be about at a medium heat level or slightly under medium high. We want the initial higher heat at the beginning so we can accomplish a good hard sear, which is flavor and color. After the turn down, season the chick really well with some coarse ground kosher salt. We'll only season one side, so hook it up with salt. The reason we do not season it beforehand is because the salt will start to pull the moisture, also known as water, out of the chicken. We do not want that happening. We didn't pat it dry for no reason. Which leads me into telling you why we did that in the first place. The chicken that has been patted dry will make a better contact with the hot oil and pan, allowing it to achieve a really nice hard sear on it, which like mentioned before is flavor and color. If we didn't pat it dry and just tossed it in once the chicken hit the hot oil and pan, the water on the outside of the chicken would displace the oil, causing the chicken to steam, preventing the chicken from making good contact with the hot oil and pan. Once the chicken is in the pan, do not mess with it. Leave it as is for now. Allow the first side to cook for roughly 5 to 6 minutes or until the chicken naturally releases itself from the pan. When it does this, it means it's achieved a proper sear on it. It'll be nice and golden brown at this point. When you go to flip yours over and it doesn't look like it got a whole lot of color on it, it's because it didn't completely lay flat in the pan. Toss a weight on top of the chick to make it lay flat to achieve a better sear. I do not have actual weights for this task, so I used a heavy saucepan as the weight instead. I wanted to keep the bottom of the saucepan clean, so I used a piece of tinfoil to make a barrier between the raw chicken and the cooking utensil. If you're going to use a weight like I am, shoot to place it on top towards the end of the 5 to 6 minutes. You can also skip this step if you wish. I was just trying to get more color. Give the chicken a flippy floppy. Cook this side for the same amount of time, 5 to 6 minutes, or until it becomes golden brown and is cooked all the way through. If you choose, toss the weight back on top once again after it's been flipped. Times may vary how long your chicken needs to be cooked. It may take longer or even less time than mine did. The best way to tell when things are completely cooked and done is to base it off the internal temp. Use an instant read thermometer for the best results. Cook the chick to an internal temp of 155 Fahrenheit or 68 Celsius. It'll be cooked all the way through and it will give us very juicy chicken. It should hold this temp for 60 seconds to be considered done. As it rests, it will carry over at least 5 degrees. That temp may freak some people out, so alternatively, you can cook it till it reaches 160 Fahrenheit or 71 Celsius. It should hold this temp for 15 seconds. It will carry over cook 5 degrees as well. When temping any type of protein, always stick the thermometer in the middle of the thickest part of the item. This will ensure you achieve a proper cook on the food. If the chicken does not temp out, continue to cook the protein. You may have to flip it here and there to prevent things from burning. Alright, now that the chicken has reached the 155 Fahrenheit or 68 Celsius, immediately take the chicken out of the sauté pan. Place the chick on a wire rack placed over a half tray to allow it to rest while we make the sauce. Resting it will allow the chicken to reabsorb the juices that tried to escape during the cooking process. Placing it on a wire rack will let any small amount of juice drip off. This will help the chicken keep that crispy sear we achieved on it. If you do not have a wire rack like mine, use the wire rack from the microwave if you have one. If you do not have a rack, it's totally fine just to place the chicken aside for now. Once your pan is empty, turn your heat down to a low-medium temp. Add half a teaspoon of oil, then add the shallot we cut earlier. Season it with some coarse ground kosher salt. Sauté the shallot for 8 to 9 minutes or until they become translucent in color. The shallot will release a little water, starting to pull up some of the fond that's on the bottom of the saute pan. Fond is all that stuff that is stuck on the bottom of the saute pan. All those little golden crispy bits are flavor and will make our sauce that much better. Stir the shallots often to ensure all the pieces become well cooked. Once they have been sauteed, dump in the minced garlic. Cook the vampire repellent for 30 to 40 seconds, or until the air becomes very fragrant in smell. Now that the aromatics have been cooked, we need to deglaze our pan with the white cooking wine, or the liquid you decided to sub for it if you went that route. Be careful when doing this step. The liquid will create a large steam cloud that can burn you. After the liquid is in the pan, give it a gentle move around while the steam dissipates. It'll start the deglazing process. Now that the steam is gone, using some type of stirring tool, scrape the bottom clean to release all the small bits from the bottom. Keep doing this until all of it has been mixed into the liquid. When that has occurred, stop messing with the sauce and allow the wine to reduce by about half over a low-medium heat. We need to cook the alcohol off or the sauce will taste terrible if we didn't. It'll also help build a sauce that has more depth and flavor. Stir things from time to prevent it from burning and to help keep an eye on it. If you swap chicken stock for the wine, repeat the same step of reducing the liquid. It'll become concentrated in flavor, also giving our sauce more depth and flavor. After the reducing is over, we need to make it rain with the chicken stock. Now that the stock is in the saute pan, reduce the chicken stock until the sauce has become nice and thick. You may have to bump the heat up to a medium heat to speed up the process. If you do this though, keep an eye out because it'll reduce a lot faster. You'll have to stir it more often as well. When the sauce is close to being done, we need to mount it with a tablespoon of unsalted butter. Vigorously mix the butter pad into the sauce. Doing this will add some richness and fat to the sauce. It'll also give us a nice silky sheen as well. Mounting a sauce is a classic French technique. Keep mixing until the sauce is emulsified, meaning the butter is fully mixed in to the liquid. After that has happened, turn the heat completely off at this point. Adjust the sauce thickness to your liking. Mine has become too thick, so I added a few drops of chicken stock to help thin it back out again to reach something I liked a little more. Keep adjusting as needed. I wish I would have added a little bit more liquid, or I wish I wouldn't have reduced it so much. This would have given me more sauce for the dish, but it all worked out just fine. Just keep that in mind when you make this recipe. If you end up getting to this point like I did, you can easily add another quarter cup or a half cup of chicken stock and just start the process all over again with your existing sauce. Just reduce it again, but just not as far. Anyways, if you want a more aesthetic look, you can strain the sauce to catch the garlic and shallot. Anyways, when the sauce is done, add the chicken to the pan to slightly heat it up. Add any juice that may have dripped off during the resting period. Take the saute pan off the heat source when things are finally done. Let's plate this business up. First, slice the chicken on a bias to make it into thin pieces. Snag your favorite plate and throw down a little sauce in the middle, then lay the chicken on top of it. Fan it out so it takes up more space. Place the end piece in the back to show off the perfect cook we achieved on the chicken. Add a little more sauce to give it a more aesthetic look. Garnish with some parsley for color. Make this recipe for date night or make it for a dinner party. Whatever you decide to do, just enjoy. Alright, now that our pan-cooked chicken with the pan sauce is done, let's give it the old taste-a-roo. So looking at it, came out looking really aesthetically pleasing. This plating is a bit ugly, but nonetheless, the food itself looks really good. The sauce came out nice and creamy, and it looks like it's going to be very flavorful with that shallot and garlic that's in there. The chicken itself got that nice hard sear on the outside, which is going to bring some caramelization and good flavor. The chicken itself looks juicy and tender. Overall, it just looks very good. So let's try to get a bite with everything in it. Holy smokes. This came out so dang good. The chicken itself is very tasty. Of course, it tastes like chicken because that's what it is, but that hard pan sear that we got on the outside of it brings a ton of flavor to the table. It's so good. But the real star of the show is the pan sauce that we made. The chicken stock, of course, drives home that chicken flavor. That butter that we added brings some richness and fat to the table. Then the shallot and garlic is a match made in heaven and brings a bunch of goodness as well, which I always say in every video, it's the best combination out there. But that white wine that we added really helps elevate the sauce. We cooked it or reduced it down a bunch so it became more concentrated in flavor and brings a good amount of acid to the table to help cut through that richness and fat of the butter and the richness of the chicken. And it has that distinct kind of tangy flavor, not so much tangy, but that good acidic flavor, and makes it well-rounded overall. Texture-wise, the sauce is nice and creamy and just a touch crunchy from those little shallot and garlic pieces. Then our chicken is super dang juicy and tender and just kind of melts in your mouth. Overall, it's just so good. This recipe is really simple to make and it's worth mastering because you can pretty much make this for any occasion. Maybe you got a big shindig and you're going to feed a bunch of people, so you can make this, or you want an easy weeknight meal. You can slap this thing together, add a veg and a starch, and you got the perfect well-rounded meal. And you can make this any which way you want. Maybe add some heavy cream to the sauce to make it more fatty and creamy, or get real bougie with it and add some fresh tarragon or thyme to really elevate the dish. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching. I need to go to the store, but I have a gigantic mess to clean up, so I'm probably going to do that first and then go to the store. None of this matters to you, but I'm going to go do that, and we'll see you on the next one. And of course, that's all you're going to say today is of course. Make this. You can make this, I don't know for what I'm trying to say. You got any ideas? Yeah, you. Recipe and bowl, which I don't know why I would say bowl. Recipe. I don't know. It's perfect. It's perfect. Perfect, bro. With the pan sauce. My eyes feel dry.